hills and build them high. Makes a long time climbing before I die. I want the chance to spit in his eye. Well, they gave me bars, but I can see between to a dusty yard and a long gone green. They call that freedom, if you know what I mean. And I dry my sorrows, but the whiskey's gone. I'm sober as just...
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Shortbangers. I'm Matty. This is episode 69, so you know it's going to be a special one. Joined tonight by Colin, John, and special guest Gordon Smart. Gordon, I'll start with you because you're new on. How are you doing?
I'm brand new, lads.
Happy
Good evening.
days.
And thanks for rearranging your recording to suit my life as well. I really appreciate that.
That's right. Your life and also John's viewing of British Bake Off as well, which held us back tonight as well.
What a weird euphemism that was, eh? Sorry, lads. What did he say? It's getting a little bit tasty on British Bake Off. So
intense.
When it was getting to
the first time I've done it with my wife in ages, you said.
It was getting to the business end, like who's going home, who's staying. It was an Italian boy stayed on this week. I don't know if any of you boys watch it, but it's become a wee bit of a staple in this house.
That sounds even worse. There's an Italian boy.
Aye,
who's getting to the business end. Was it the vinegar strokes, John?
Aye. Got right interesting when he brought the ciabattas out.
And Colin, how are you doing?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
I'm good, aye. Good. This typical standard stress day for me, so in the door 5 minutes before the podcast starts. So I was like, it takes me about 10 minutes to calm down, but I think we're all right. John, did I ask you how you were, or was it just slating you for Bake Off?
You ask me, but you're never really interested. Let's be honest.
Never am. That's not true. Right. So usual story. Folk have tweeted us in questions. John, I actually think you've got the first question. And I don't know if it was directly related to this. It was about being a borrower. He said, if you're a borrower, would you rather try and survive against the big scary Doug or a sombrero wearing joiner's hammer?
Oh, aye. That was in connection with something that the boy Fattest Prickus, Gordon, I don't know if you see him on Twitter. He's the boy that writes the Yas Hibs tweets.
Absolutely love him, yeah, brilliant.
He's become a wee bit of a Hibs celebrity. So he was working on I'm assuming it was a flat based on what the pictures were, but it looked like there'd been a bit of subsidence or something. So I think he was maybe shaving the top off of the door to kind of make it fit in the door frame. And above it, there was a wee hurling ball, which one of our Irish listeners had picked up on. And there was what looked like a tiny wee table and chairs. And that's kind of where the question spurred from. You didn't have to answer it, but you're welcome to have a go.
That Fattest Prickus boy is brilliant, isn't he?
He's a good lad. He's in a door for me, front door. So he was actually around the Longbangers HQ through the week there, which was nice. A nice wee surprise for me.
You're Matty, is this whole podcast just about you getting stuff for free? Right?
I'm not getting it for free. I wish I was getting it for free. It's definitely no.
That's what episode 70 is about. Easter Road. I said that to Matty on Hibs TV. I said, "Oh, that's brilliant. Are you doing your live night for charity?" And you just went, "No."
It's true story. No, it would never cross my mind.
Longbangers registered charity.
The Matty Fairley Benevolent Fund.
Colin, what about you? If you're a borrower, would you rather face up against a big scary dog or a sombrero wearing joiner's hammer? I think it is though the hammer that's wearing the sombrero.
Well, it's funny if it is. I've got a recollection of something out of The Simpsons, maybe a hammer wearing a sombrero or something. But no, Joiner's got the hammer. He just happens to be wearing a sombrero. Or Big Scary Doug.
There's a kids program where the boys got all the tools that what was that called? I'm trying to remember.
Bob the Builder.
No, Bob the Builder. It was like he was like sort of a Hispanic gadget, and
I know what you mean. It's Disney, I think. Disney Channel.
His tools all kind of helped him out and did all the stuff. Anyway, but that's probably the closest you get a sombrero wearing hammer. So you get me go ole, ole, ole instead of bang, bang. Arriba.
Because ole is well known as being Spanish for bang.
Fuck off, I didn't get it. Colin, Doug or the joiner?
I'll take the joiner. They didn't move quickly. They're just you can't get them moving that quick.
Get it right in the tweets and moving around.
Moaning about standing and moaning about the work the plumber's done or fucking whatever it is they come in and do. They're never happy. So I'll go with the joiner.
I'd go for the dog. Remember Honey, I Shrunk the Kids?
Mm-hmm. Aye.
I watched that again recently with my kids, and it was dreadful. I remember it being amazing when I was wee, and it was pish. But the dog played quite an important role, and actually ended up being quite helpful to the Great Escape. So I think I'd go for the dog, just in case the joiner was an angry joiner and the dog was a kind dog. Nobody said what kind of dog it was, because that's important. Just a big dog. All dogs are big when you're a borrower, eh?
Aye, a big scary dog, but scary doesn't mean mean. Just means it looks.
All dogs are scary when
Colin,
you're
for
the
example.
size of a pencil or whatever.
Right, Matt was the next question, and this one was for you, Gordon. So if Gordon was 1 inch in his mum or his dad was 1 inch in him, would he move forward or back? We've all answered this question before, by the way, just to see you get Gordon.
Not about your mum or dad, though. About
No, but you're not. We don't care about that.
That's quite specific.
That would be weird. Eh?
Never met them.
The last time it happened.
Left me in mistakes, yeah.
It's a really good question, and having Fife roots at some point quite realistic. Listen, I love them dearly, so if we had to do it whichever way they felt was right.
I thought about this when this question came in. I thought my mum and dad are quite reasonable folk. I would just ask them to stop. we never considered that when we answered it. We were like, let's discuss. You got to do this and that, and all these kind of horrible mental images. Just say, which is fine. No, I'm sure I would do it.
You can think about these things too much.
Definitely that.
My old man was a GP and my mum was a teacher, so I don't know if that changes the dynamics there. Not my dad's got experience of doing things that he's got awfully big hands, actually, just thinking about it. So you wouldn't want to go and see him when you're at 50 years old and you have to do that thing,
Have you ever had that?
Not yet, no. I've missed it so far.
I have.
Still in the early 40s. Have you already?
Aye, well, I had some symptoms, and obviously you have to go get it checked out. So I was like, I can't pissing through the night loads and just getting like sort of wee aches. And so I was just like, can you better go and get it checked out?
So we went to Scorpio Leisure on Albion Road.
They had this clamp thing that winded it, and I thought
Joe Tortolano did it.
So I was different to how I thought it would be, because he says get up and lie on the bed and then lie on your side. I kind of assumed that you would have to just like bend over. That was it. It was over quite quickly. It was.
No, it's fine, Mr. Fairley. Just you lie on your side.
Pulling out bits of Lego, like the wee claw.
Took him ages, Kenny, with fucking panting and everything. Okay, there was a slapping noise. They came where that was.
Just imagine them pulling the Millennium Falcon at Matty's arse.
There we go.
A Lego one.
Like a row of hankies, coloured hankies, and a fucking rabbit. It was all fine anyway. Thanks for asking. There was nothing wrong.
I assumed would have heard if it was fucking wrong.
You would have. Right. Next question is for Andy. Says, surely Gordon could get some big name performances on the go for us at Easter Road. Following on for that, what would be the ideal Easter Road music festival, one day or night with 4 or 5 acts? So probably pick an act each for your festival.
Brilliant. Yeah, I'd like Eddie Grant to headline. Don't know why I always associate him with halftime music at Hibs. Electric Avenue. That used to play quite a lot, didn't it? And what was the Kelly Marie song as well? Feel Like I'm in Love. Boop, 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 boop. That used to play Easter Road all the time. So she would be on the bill. That's 2 from me.
Aye, I was going to say, you didn't quite get the one band.
Sorry.
There you go. Have 2. We need to say 4 or 5. We'll do 5.
Well, there's 4 of us, so I've filled 2, so you can do the rest.
I'm going to go for, I want to say Retro Video Club. I think they're the guys that have had a bit of connection with Hibs recently, and I've listened to some of their stuff. So something a bit more modern, something a bit more upbeat.
Band, yeah, good band.
Go on.
I'm dead boring. Like I'd still pick Oasis again, like just because I've seen them about 10 times, but I would still just pick them again, just because they're not together at the moment.
I've got a good Oasis Hibs story for you if you're interested in it.
Always.
Aye, so Noel had come up to Celtic Park, and I think, God, this will be a few years ago now, and Jason Cummings was playing for Hibs at the time, and he'd gone across and asked Noel for a selfie, and Noel, for the next 10 minutes, just absolutely berated Jason Cummings. Remember those sort of legging jeans, like jeggings or whatever you call them?
Yeah.
He was just like, is that what fucking Hibs players wear now? Is it? Fuck, I'm getting these messages going, who is this wee prick with this fucking... that's got this tattoo on his hand, and he just rinsed him. I went, hammer him. So that was his. But he said, I'm disappointed. I thought Hibs had hard footballers.
Cummins was never a hard one, was he?
No.
Right, I would pick maybe James, a big James fan, or maybe I should probably say Maltman for playing the theme tune for the podcast. So maybe pick him. But then he's playing East Road next week, isn't he? So
he's getting his turn.
He's getting his turn. So right, Andy said, who's the biggest shagger to have played for Hibs in your lifetime, and why was it Dirk Lehmann? John, you want to go first?
Oh God, I hope I get the name right. Peter Goodgie, was he the one that was emptied for visiting ladies of the night?
Was this an allegedly one, John?
Allegedly.
Or was this reported somewhere, or is it actual factual?
Urban legend says that Peter Goodgie was downstairs the gas cookers.
Colin?
Was wee Latipi know about a shagger in the day? Is that not the...
I think was Latipi married, or I kind of hung about with Dwight York, who definitely was, because there's plenty of evidence of that in there. But I think whether Latipi was himself or no. Gordon,
what kind of legal backing has this podcast got?
Well, we kind of list it as satire comedy, which I think gets us away with a lot of stuff. We do say that 99.9% of stuff that we say is bollocks. So
it's just an opinion. It's just an opinion. You like that, you know?
It's a bit tricky with my background here, lads. I've got to be. It's like, does that Waterman's legal contract with Hibs extend?
It's one of the many partners that we enjoy.
So when I moved to Edinburgh in 1998, and we used to have a student nightclub called Shark, the Hibs lads were regulars because they didn't get any aggro, right? So, you know, there'd be no dafties picking fights with them like they would at Century 2000 on a Saturday night. So it was in the era of Kenny Miller, Tam McManus, Big Liam O'Sullivan, Ian Murray, Dirty Dirk. We used to kick around, Stuart Lovell, Matty Jack in his leather trench coat. It was a brilliant, brilliant time. But out of that lot, the young lads had a great time. That's all I'm saying. But Dirty Dirk lived up to his name, definitely.
Which is mental when you consider what he looked like and the earrings he had, and the curtains. Because he had like curtains when curtains were long past. Even Dirk got rid of my curtains by that point.
Did he come in the nightclub with the plasters over his earrings as well?
There's a boy that'll listen to this called Nicky Muir, massive Hibs fan. And I don't think Nicky will mind me sharing this story, although actually, no, he'll be all right. He won't get sacked for it. But let's just say, I know I'm committed now. There was a night about 3 o'clock in the morning after everyone got emptied out the club where Nicky found himself hurdling hedges of Brunsfield or whatever with Dirk Lehmann as they ran away from Lothian and Borders Police. And I think Hibs had a game like the next night, and Dirk Lehmann was miraculously not playing. And I always blame Nicky Muir for that, who will be listening to this, I'm sure. But God, Dirk, he was a character. It's funny, I'm not going to betray any trust here with Stuart Lovell, but he really didn't like how much the fans liked Dirk Lehmann because he thought he was pish in training, didn't train hard, pish in games. But we all just thought he was funny because he was Dirty Dirk the porn star.
Quality. Right, Neil Whelan said, given that Gordon clearly handpicked his own surname, what surname would the others pick to help advance their life and career? And if you didn't say Donkey Cock here, you're a liar.
Do you know the boy, Gordon, that's on, is it fourth one? His name's Max Steele.
No,
I'm sure it's Max Steele. I think that's a brilliant name.
Not
There's
Lexington.
Max Power that plays football, isn't there?
Yeah.
As well.
Not Lexington Steele. Are you familiar with his work?
It rings a bell. I don't know why though.
That was a real test of the other boys. They both know who he is. Just look him up.
Colin, what about you? What name would you pick?
I'm struggling here. What's that footballer that's called Clever? Is it Cleverly? There we go, Clever.
Cleverly.
Smart. We'll go along that route. I'm stuck with the smart one, so I've went with Cleverly. Boring. What about you?
I'll go Donkey Cock.
Imagine signing that, right?
Have it on your shirt. Can we jump to the crowd when you've scored? I bet.
Yeah, Matt, I don't know if I said to you, Matty, right? I'm sorry if it sounds like I'm just telling boring name dropping stories, right? But about 8 years ago now, I wrote Vinnie Jones' book, right? And I played for his football team in LA. And I played with a guy called Danny Mountain, who some of your podcast devotees will be aware of. And I remember being in the shower afterwards, feeling a wee bit insecure, right? And I remember saying to Vinny on the way back, I was like, Vinny, like, I've been in quite a few showers and football teams and all that, but am I just like, do I come from a different breed? And he's like, nah, mate, don't worry about it. They're all porn stars. So Danny Mountain is one of the main guys from Brazzers. And that was his stage. He was from Southampton, Danny Mountain. And yeah, I stood in the shower next to him, which was humbling to say the least.
Mountain by name, mountain by nature.
Face another way in that.
Aye, I'll just look this way.
So I think I changed my name to Gordon Mountain.
Like Alistair Taylor says, you're having a jobby and you realise there's no Luro, only a copy of the Daily Record. Do you subject your bangle to the utter disgrace of a rag, or do the penguin waddle of shame through to the house to the other toilet, if no other toilet upside down in the shower is permitted?
Who are you starting with?
Who wants to take it for? Anyway, John.
There's a boy that I was speaking to this week that I used to work beside who revealed that he doesn't actually wipe his arse. He just gets in the shower and that's how he cleans himself. And I don't know whether that's genius every time he has a shite. And I don't know if it's genius or if it makes him a manky bastard.
What if he's out?
He does. So that's the thing. Like, it's not the first person I've heard who says that they don't shit in public places. Like, they'll just shite in their own house.
They always have the choice, though, do you? It's like, my brother-in-law's a taxi driver. He'll be listening to this, and he'll often phone me, say he'll be on the phone talking about the football or whatever, and he'll say, "I need to go. I need to rip into this boozer for a shite." McDonald's for a shite. He's constantly going somewhere, just somewhere else. I think he has a shit in his own house. Just constantly tours Edinburgh.
I don't think I ever had a shite at high school. Just for the fear of, you know what it was like. You didn't get a second piece, did you?
That's a fair point. I can't think of many times. I must have done it at some point, but I can't think it was definitely something you tried to avoid, eh?
Oh, aye, of course.
I only did it once that I remember when I was at West Calder High School. And the only reason it happened once is because I went into the toilets and it was like this old, the toilets, it reminds me of it being like an old sort of asylum style structure. So like it was like green or like sort of pale blue tiles, kind of like rows of cubicles. It was maybe like sinks in the middle. And I went into this one toilet and I think I checked all the doors and the doors, all the locks in them were burst. So I had to pick one of them, and I picked one of them. I thought, right, there's maybe like 15, 20 cubicles here. No one is going to try and get in. So I sit down and I'm having a shite, and sure enough, I hear the door open, like the main door, and someone comes in and they open the door to my cubicle and they go, "What are you doing?" I'm having a fucking shite. What does it look like?
I went with a Christmas night out, and it was what's the name of the hotel? Hotel at the back of Waverley Market, like sort of Market Street way.
Aye.
I can't mind the name of it. Anyway, Jury's Inn. Right, so this is where the Christmas night out we work, and I'd gone for a pee. I often will use a cubicle for a pee as well if in public places. I have a wee wipe. I like to have a wee wipe after just to clean up instead of drip drying.
If you're wearing light trousers.
Aye, well, that's it, because we're white trousers. Anyway, I pushed the cubicle open and there was a guy that I managed was sitting on the bog. And I was like, "Why have you not locked it?" And he went to push it and the door fell off. I just went away and left it. Like, I wasn't helping him pick it back up. I was like, "You're going to have to deal with that door when they came with your trousers with your ankles. I can lock the door, you prick."
See toilets in schools now are unisex.
Aye.
Are they?
Imagine that. Aye, because boys are obviously a bit smelly, but worse. Aye, so imagine the girls that just never go to the toilet.
Nah, they wouldn't.
At school now.
You ever been in the situation where you've not had any toilet, or you've kind of done your business and then we're like, "Oh fuck, none there."
Oh, do you know this story? No, are you winding me up?
No, I didn't get the story.
Oh no.
I hear Brian football. He's phoning in now. Like, fucking tell. He's got loads of examples.
No.
Like, what's your story?
oh God, I don't know if I should tell this. It's too late now, isn't it? So when I went out with Big Leishman's daughter at school, and she moved down to London in, what was that, 1998, and I didn't see her for a while, and then we bumped into each other, and I went back to her house, and like I say, I hadn't seen her mum and dad for a couple of years at that point. Anyway, you know, it was a late night, you know, things happened, and I went to the family bathroom in the middle of the night, and there was nothing. There was absolutely nothing in the Leishman toilet to help me, not even a face towel, no normal towel, nothing. And I thought, well, I can't put the shower on because that'll alert them to me being here. So I ripped the pocket off my shirt, and I did what I still to this day I'm quite proud of, the operation that followed. Anyway, tidied myself up and went back to bed. And the next day it was Kate's, my mother-in-law, my future mother-in-law's birthday. And I was like, oh, it was really awkward because obviously I'd gate crashed this special occasion, hadn't seen them for 2 years, and just reappeared in the house. And Big Leishman just got me in the kitchen. There's sort of 2 doors into the kitchen. One went out into the garden and one went into the living room. And he closed one door and then he closed the other. And I thought, oh no, this is it. And he just came across nose to nose with me and he said, right, son, respect. I want to speak to you about my house, my rules, and respect. I haven't seen you for a couple of years. We liked you. You've just reappeared. You've obviously been up the stair. And I'd just like to remind you that it's my house. She's still my daughter. And there are certain rules. Is that clear? I'm like, yes, Jim, very clear. And he went, is that clear, son? Yes, sir. And he said, anyway, what happened to your pocket and your shirt? And I said, oh, we were all mucking about last night after the football and somebody ripped it off. And he said, really? Funny that, son, because when I woke up this morning, it was floating about in the toilet. And then we went out and there was like a family barbecue, and every 10 minutes, Jim would say, tell everyone what happened to your shirt, son, last night, eh? Jim, shut up. Anyway, we eventually got married, so it was all right.
Married, Jim?
Aye, me and Jim. Well, he was at the front and Mary was at the back.
See, when you go around their house now, do you make sure there's a bog roll in the toilet before you use it?
Correct.
It happened to me twice. Once at one of the places where I worked, and I had to do the shuffle. I had to wait until the toilet was empty, and it was a busy workplace, so I was waiting a wee while, and then shuffled to the cubicle next to me and got some toilet roll there. And the other time it happened was in Amsterdam, and I'd been hanging, so I was away for a work thing. I was absolutely hanging, and we'd been out on a canal trip all day, and gone to the pub, been in a few pubs before we were getting the flight in the evening, and we'd left the pub in plenty of time, and the woman I was with, she'd forgot her case. She's like, where's my case? Back at the pub, so I had to run back to the pub. Of course, then we were pushing it for time for the train to get out to Schiphol. So we were running, right? I'm not a runner, obviously, walking fast. Gets to the train station, and I just feel the kind of the bubbling. I'm like, oh, fuck, right? So caught short. So I'll be back in a minute, run to the toilet, first cubicle, boom, emptied, nothing. Okay, and I'm like, So I used my boxer shorts then, just left them sort of behind. That was how I sorted out the situation, because I couldn't wait there. It was too busy. Like it was either gone out stinking, and it would have been stinking as well, or
the shirt in that pocket just wouldn't have been big enough either.
I wouldn't have done. Anybody else anything for that one, Colin, John?
No, I don't think so.
All right. Fattest Prickus then said, would pigeons and crows be taken more seriously if their heads went side to side with each step they took instead of the current back and forward system?
Great question.
When you say side to side, do you mean like turning left and right, or do you mean
or like walk like an Egyptian type?
Like...
Or I think they look like they've got it going on though. When a pigeon's walking, it's like if you all they're missing is a pair of headphones, and they would look like they were fucking having a great time.
It's like Kim and Del Boy used to do that, like when you used to jack
like,
on and feels nauseous.
There's a difference between a cockney pigeon and a mank pigeon. Then it goes out. What?
I don't care, Alex. So we'll say aye to that one. Close question again. The Paul Mackay said the problems with Facebook, WhatsApp, etc. earlier this week. Do you think Stephen Gerrard blamed Porteous for it?
That's happened again tonight. I got an alert just before we came on saying that it's back down again.
Was it?
Aye, the mirror. Sorry, Gordon, but the mirror said it. Facebook and Instagram go down for second time in a week.
It did because I was having a nightmare posting the SFA stuff tonight. Aye. I think I was convinced it was just my dodgy reception, but you'll be right. It's down again.
The only
Must
thing
be
I use
hacking,
Facebook for now is sharing Fizz top tips or
that's
letters
brilliant.
that come in. That's it. That's
Yeah.
share it.
Do you like Festhole as well? That's good. Did you follow that?
Oh.
Aye,
Brilliant.
so we went to do a wee segment on here where I saw Festival and I thought that would be brilliant on the podcast. The folks sent in confessions and then we could read them out. But we got a couple to start off with, and then I forgot about it after that, and then nobody else sent anything in. So it kind of died a death quite quickly. But I still think it's a good idea. And if anybody wants to confess anything, it does, we
You know
will
what
read
we
it
could
out.
we could just get Gordon to send us a load these days at the.
Oh,
and we'll
God.
Just
read
blank
them
out the
right, and
names.
just not see who they came from.
Incredible. that was the best part of working there. I was reading Deirdre's letter.
Andy says, has Gordon ever listened to Shortbangers before? And if yes, why the fuck did he agree to come on?
You know what it was? I think I told you this, Matty. It was because of your description of the end of A New Hope, the Star Wars film. And like Han Solo comes fucking roaring in, bang, and he's like, "Yeehaw!" like some kind of space cowboy, and then he fucks out of there. I was like, "I'm going on that." It's the best description of Star Wars I've ever heard. Oh, it was class.
Accurate as well, eh?
It was absolutely spot on.
Have
Is
you
that
seen
the one where he says, where you said, use the fucking force? Turn the computer off,
Force,
use
look.
the fucking force.
It was also when you started by saying, "Just a warning, this is a spoiler."
There's a YouTube thing with Fife Darth Vader. I reckon if
Oh,
you've
it's
ever seen
brilliant.
that,
Yeah, it's brilliant, isn't it?
that's quality.
Yeah, can't you?
Yeah,
That wee boy, yeah, you're sir. That wee boy's got the force in him, like.
Brilliant. Andy also asked, would you rather your arms were half the size, i.e. your hand was where your elbow was, or your legs were half the size, foot where your knee is? And just to clarify, you'd still have elbows and knees.
This is getting into dwarf wee midget territory. Like this is a
Well,
that would be a dwarf. That wouldn't it?
if only if they were both, like the hands and the legs.
But your
Oh,
body
Like
would
the
have
arms
to
and
be
legs, so it's one or
proportionate
the
as well,
other.
wouldn't it?
Aye. So I think we're in safe territory. We're not talking about.
I'd go arms. Want me to elaborate?
Yeah.
Yes.
Because I think. Oh no! Any explanation of this sounds terrible, doesn't it? Yeah. Anybody else?
But you have to get a
I'm
different
beginning to
keyboard.
regret it now.
Do you have to get a different keyboard for your work?
It was just sit
Just
closer to
closer.
Of all the problems about the keyboard that you want.
Or John, you,
But hang on. If you've got shorter arms, but your body's not in proportion to your arms, you've got a difficulty wiping your arse. So you're doing the handstand in the shower. How are you going to reach the
no,
shower
if you've got
button?
wee arms, you couldn't do the handstand because your arms wouldn't support your weight if they were tiny.
So you've still got a problem wiping your arse.
Aye.
It's going to be the
Maybe
legs. Just
like
purely on the basis of being able to wipe your arse, it's going to be the legs.
Aye. How would you drive, though?
Pull the seat
Well,
forward.
there must be a way because the same. Aye, they could get modified cars and stuff like that, but I think the legs would be the easier one to cope with because if it was your arms,
I like how you're going for the T-Rex.
I'm a very,
Imagining it.
I'm a very visual person, John. You imagine like having to tie your shoelaces and everything. Like, I mean, we were talking about the contortions you'd have to do if you were filleting last week,
Aye.
and I think you'd have similar kind of things if you were trying to tie your shoelaces. You'd have to like that's rib removal territory. I think.
You wouldn't be able to have a wank either, would you?
Again, you need to get a kind of.
You'd be, well, depends on the size of you, I suppose. If you're Danny Mountain, you might be all right. But
Oh, you'll be laughing. It's probably easier.
Danny's got no problems there. Like a tractor exhaust pipe.
I suppose the other consideration, you could wear shorts as trousers, but it's harder to do that with like a t-shirt as a shirt. Or is it?
I'm sorry, I'm thinking about shoes with Velcro straps in them to try and get rid of this short leg syndrome.
Driving would be oh fuck no, right, let's
You can surely get like wee sort of joysticks.
you definitely can. I think how
So
they're
have you
relevant to
seen the
this.
cars? Have you seen the cars for people who don't have the use of the legs, who use like hand controls for like the clutch and for the acceleration? So surely you could just extend that sort of mechanism.
You made
So
it
there you go.
serious, John.
Aye.
Yeah, he's gone all practical there.
Aye.
How dare I?
I know.
It was better when I was talking about wiping your ass.
Yeah. It's definitely a theme in this podcast, isn't it? Every clip I've seen has involved your arse.
Aye.
It's just John. John
Yeah,
does it
very-
every question.
Very anal people.
There's a guy. Alistair, I think, always asks us questions about jobbies. Always.
And I think, to be fair, I think that's because of Brian. That's nothing to do with me. Brian's just got like a story, it seems, for every day of the week when he shat himself.
Every day of the fortnight.
Every day.
I think it's 15 times he says it, so he's got a spare one as well. Right, the Hibs are here said the Scottish referees train at a clandestine Hogwarts-esque mediocrity school where idiocy is a requirement for entry, and if so, who is the headmaster?
Yes.
I
And
don't
what
think
else
it's
is stuff?
clandestine, and the head teacher is surely Hugh Dallas.
It's got to be Hugh Dallas.
Yeah, and Willie Collum
Aye.
is his deputy.
Do you think Willie Collum picked his own name?
See if Harry Potter was remade with Scottish referees, Andrew Dallas would be Draco Malfoy.
Yep.
Yeah.
Tell me I'm wrong. I've
I'd-
just had a revelation.
I've not watched enough Harry Potter to ken, but I ken who Draco Malfoy is. Right, next question. TG Willis. I was going to show my phone, but every time I try to show my phone, it doesn't work. But this is almost as this a sign, like a speed camera, and the sign says not in use. And his question is to whose benefit is doing this, apart from the speedsters and the folk employed to put the cover on or off?
I want to look at that picture.
Amazing.
Is there no a rule about making speed cameras obvious? But they kind of, if it's no in use, why that would make it, why you would need to say it's.
I've
It's
never
not.
seen the not in use thing. I've seen them, like if I go down the A68, you see them, they have the cover over them, but it doesn't have a sign saying not in use. That seems a bit overkill.
How many points are you boys on?
None.
I'm still on 0.
John?
You say pints or
Obviously,
points?
Oh,
doesn't-
points.
Revenue
What
share.
points on your
How ma-
license, John?
How many points do you get for drinking pints?
I don't know. No, I've got no points. I'm a very good driver.
That wasn't very convincing, was it, lads?
No.
Do you think he's hiding a
Clean
wee
London
secret here?
podcast, this. Aye.
Aye. Aye.
How many you got?
I
You've
had,
obviously
well,
got some.
well, I was on 10 and I've just recently got back to nothing. That was
done.
it was actually a Hearts fan, Copper, that pulled me over. It was 6 years ago, driving towards the Kincardine Bridge, and he pulled me over. And it was just after, when was the Salt and Sauce final? Remember the one we don't talk about?
Aye, 2012.
And I made the mistake of writing an article for the part of the programme that day. And the boy pulled me over and he said, "You'd realise, sir, you were doing 86 miles an hour or whatever it was." And I said, "Aye, sorry about that. It's really late at night. I thought it would be all right, but my apologies." And he said, "You that boy for the Sun that wrote that article in the programme at the cup final?" And I was like, "Aye." And he went, "Brilliant. That's 100 quid and 3 points." God,
Oh,
thanks.
sake.
Aye.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Should tell why you picked 86 miles an hour. It's fucking 1986, you prick.
What kid?
It's worth 100 quid. Fuck you.
Exactly. Brilliant.
Random Dribble said, is it true pigs have 30-minute orgasms? And if so, can I apply to become a pig?
Well,
They-
Rebecca Luce, remember?
She
In
did.
the farm, tested that theory, and the episodes were 45 minutes long, and they managed to squeeze that into about 5 minutes, didn't they?
It would have been brilliant if it was just 30 minutes, just the pig just shuddering and just ejaculating wildly with a big grin on its face. That's all we've got time for this week. Next week, Jordan wanks off a donkey.
Matty, you should apply for one of these jobs as a commissioner. Unveiling autumn's content on Channel 5. It's Matty Fernie. Matty, what's going to be on in December? Well, we're going to discover the wank. Anyway,
Aye. Imagine that's what you were famous for, because Rebecca Lewis before that was most famous for shagging David Beckham.
Allegedly. Like, I don't think that's
Allegedly.
a problem.
She said she did you know? So
Yeah,
if she
she did,
alleged it,
aye.
does that no lend it some? So she's most famous
he
for
chucked her
saying
lawyers
that
out,
she
though.
should.
He's
Right.
always denied, hasn't he?
Is he?
There can't be many situations where someone is alleged to have rattled a footballer and then their career's taken a downturn like that. Like, how do you go for rattling a footballer and wanking off a pig?
I think you become more famous for wanking off a pig than shagging probably the most famous footballer in the world at the time,
Aye,
allegedly.
something's wrong with that picture.
Do you think the pig tells his mates, by the way?
I watched a program
For Beckham to
recently.
me.
No, he doesn't.
his upgrade.
Or maybe he does.
I watched a
Normally I'm
program
due 30
recently about
minutes, but
this.
it was 5 minutes so far.
It wasn't directly about this, the programme. It was on Channel 4 or Channel 5. I mentioned it a few weeks ago that it was about the Spice Girls and the whole sort of revolution in that. And they mentioned that. But what they said was that the media, because they were into the media, hammering how the media slammed the women in that instance.
Yeah.
And Beckham got away completely scot-free. She was too skinny. She wasn't providing for his needs. She was a dirty whore. That was basically the whole thing, and he's like, fucking just walking a bit fast in the tie up, doing whatever he fancies. And that was because it was all about feminism and all that kind of thing. I think it's true. It's, if that happened, it's totally true, that he got away totally scot-free, like getting his knighthood soon and all that.
Aye.
And it's the wife that gets slagged off, and the other lassie that.
To be
discarded.
fair, Carl, we've just perpetuated because, like, how did we talk about the pig? We didn't say, "Oh, that pig was a dirty wee bastard," did we?
No.
Do you know, we're like,
That was her. Aye.
so. I think
was
we
a
need to
really good-
apologise.
Yeah, a very grown-up point made by Colin there.
I do it too often. It's no.
He's the
it's no
voice of reason.
Yeah. What do you think about jobbies in relation to that?
Right, Dorlesa said, was the song Gordon is a moron about you, Gordon?
Aye. Actually, I've got to be careful how I tell this, but Jilted John, who sang that song, you can't play that song on the radio now, because I asked to play it on Radio Scotland, and I was told no because the lyrics are so inappropriate.
It's offensive now.
It's really, but it's not the moron part of it, but there's 3 or 4 other lines that are horrific in it, like really horrific. But Jilted John apparently lives in Orkney. He's up in Scotland now. But that was the bane of my life when I was wee. Gordon is a moron. It was brutal.
Do you think he lives in Orkney because he was shunned? Like that.
He's exiled up there.
Aye. I can't remember. There's a reason for him being up there, and I can't remember what it is. But aye, that song, man. Because I very nearly played it on the radio and was told, no, it's on a list, you can't play it.
Is it? I haven't
Aye.
gone listening.
Have a go and look up the lyrics, aye.
You
You can play it on the podcast, eh?
Aye.
Probably can.
I was
actually,
watching a program the other night. It was on. That's another. But it was on Sky Documentaries. I'm the intelligent one, I think. Hey, that's what's coming across
It's
here.
because you're with the classes, Colin. There's no fooling
That's
anybody.
why I put them on.
I could,
That's
my
why I put them
classes are there. I could put them on, and then I'll be just as intelligent as you.
But I was watching it, and it was called. It was about like the rock stars in the 70s and that. And it was basically calling Steve Tyler out for being a beast and all that. I can't remember.
Aye.
Don't walk. Don't look or something.
Yeah.
It was called. And they played songs at the start. Rolling Stones, Iggy Pop, a couple of other bands, and the lyrics are all about shagging 13-year-old lassies and that. And like these songs were songs in the 70s.
Aye.
And they were based on like real people that they spoke to in the show.
Aye.
Fucking mental. You think,
Was
that's
that
not
when
jewelry.
the young girl get out of her mind? Like that whole chorus is about you're much too young and everything. And
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Some of the stories about that stuff. But then, I don't want to spoil songs for you, but Don't Stop Me Now by Queen. That was written by Freddie Mercury while he was enjoying himself, shall we say?
can imagine.
Yeah. I've just looked at the
Just
lyrics.
get the pen out. Just
I've-
get the pen out while
I
he's
don't,
banging
so
away.
many of it. Don't stop me now. I'm having such a good time. My mum and dad, one side, one in front, one in back. If you look up the lyrics of, it's actually a derogatory term used for, that you would probably have used in the playground, slagging off your pal for being homosexual. That's in all the way through the lyrics.
Uh-huh.
There.
There you go. So not good
Uh,
on Radio Scotland.
No. Andy says, do you think humans could exist on a different planet? And if yes, when do you think we can start moving people over?
Definitely, and within 35 years.
But
Absolutely. Yeah, without a doubt.
So by 2055, if my maths are right, you reckon we'll be
56.
shipping people over to other planets?
Possibly, yeah.
you
I
say
think it could happen.
56,
Aye, your
Colin?
maths are
Aye,
wrong.
Fuck off.
he's the intelligent one, John. He's the intelligent one.
Listen, man, without getting too serious on this podcast, if I've been working with this boy recently, Aldo Kane, who's like an explorer and environmentalist and all the rest of it. And when he talks about environmental damage to the planet, we're going to have to come up with some kind of idea within the next 25 years to make things manageable. So if we can live on a space station, which we can now, then I'm sure we can live on another planet. It's only going to be the moon at the moment, though, isn't it? We need to work out how to travel a wee bit faster.
Aye, that's the problem with it is the vastness of the distance that you'd have to travel and the speed at which you'd have to travel to.
Yeah.
So find an inhabitable planet would be an issue because there isn't one at the moment. You could land on the moon, but you can't grow fuck all there. Or
There's water on Mars, though. There's water on Mars, isn't there?
Well, there was water, but there's not now. So
you said that with a real authority as well.
I've been there.
You didn't find a flat.
I say
NASA representative Matthew Fairney.
I say I've been to the Big Asda in Holbeath, which is like it. So aye. Who would you first? That was the next question. Which was it? Who would you move first? That was from Mel Clements.
Katie Hopkins.
A show, by the way.
Yeah.
Just fire a big fucking catapult. Didn't bother with the spacecraft or that. Just again, ping. That would be.
It's just going to be the super rich that move.
Well, they've started already. They've started testing out, haven't they?
So they'll move, and then it'll just the shit will be left for the rest of us.
Unless you keep the money back.
Wall-E.
That's a film.
You get rid of Jambos, eh? There was it's not even a funny joke, but
they're too big for this planet. Like they're first on the list.
Is that why they built a massive bus shelter?
Aye. for other planets to travel. What would you call a Jambo on the moon? There's a problem. What would you call 2 Jambos on the moon? It's a bigger problem. What do you call all the fucking Jambos on the moon? Problem solved. There you go. Right. School level, School level jokes. Ray of Sunshine on Leith said, what's the connection between one of the famous 5, Bulldog, and U110? I think he's actually sent us a genuine trivia question here.
What was the question again? What's the connection
between one of the famous 5? And I'm presuming he's not meaning Enid Blyton's famous 5, he's meaning the Hibs one. Bulldog's musician, is he?
Oh, no, you're thinking of Pitbull.
Pitbull.
Down with the kids. Fucking hell.
QI for the dates.
Classic.
It's QI for the dates. And U110, which I think was Bono's fucking later bands, wasn't it? After
I'm gonna go out on a limb and say it's something to do with Eddie Turnbull and his time in the Merchant Navy.
Right.
But I didn't have the connection to Bulldog.
Bulldog could be a cigarette or something. If he was in the Navy, it could be a type of like.
Or gin or rum or something. Maybe.
What did we say Bulldog was?
We didn't say it's a dog.
A really shite American pop star.
But it's not a bulldog. It's just bulldog with a capital B.
Is that a drink? Is it a beer?
They can. John, you're not on the Google by now.
Is there not a razor blade or something that's called that?
The Bulldog.
Actually, it's a moisturiser. I've got a wee
moisturiser. Is it? Bulldog skincare for men. Oh,
so Eddie Turnbull moisturising while he was on the Arctic convoys trying to dodge Russian German submarines in the Second World War.
Was a U110 a submarine then? Is that what we're saying?
Aye, it had to have been a U-boat, surely.
Right.
Yeah.
So maybe it's Gordon Smith no kick about in Cairns and that, where there's boats and stuff. So maybe he had something to do with it.
That's good. That I've got no idea.
I take it's no certain answer. And they never get questions, never answers.
So there'll be no connection. You'll be saying, "I'll fucking these faddies." And then
it's a German submarine.
Is it?
Aye.
Right. Oh, I think I'm at the.
That's got to be Merchant Navy related, then, isn't it?
Got to be. Because what did the rest of them do? I think
Gordon
Smith, the other shop, doing
footballers, mate.
Doing his Slovene way.
Footballers.
Outside, they playing for Hibs, obviously.
Okay, right. We'll never get the answer, so we'll move on. Right. St. Christopher said, "Does truth exist without evidence?" And why was that red card upheld? Does truth exist without evidence? Colin, here's your philosophical questions.
Aye, but I'm not answering them. I'm just creating them. So I'm fucked on this at the moment.
Fucking Socrates in the corner there.
Got a pair of glasses on him.
What was the question? Does
Truth exist without evidence?
are we at, but we're specific here about purchase? Is that what they get?
That was like an add-on. That was why was the red card
Right.
upheld?
Well, I guess it does exist to the individual, doesn't it? They don't need evidence because they've seen it. That is the evidence to them.
They're anecdotal evidence. So
But then does anybody else believe it? That's where it becomes. It's like when you have. It's like when you have like I don't know. Let's take two daughters arguing, right? You've got two daughters. I've got two daughters. I've got three daughters, but they argue. She'll say it's her fault. She'll say it's her fault, and I always say there's three sides to every story, right? It's our side, your side, and the fucking truth in the middle, and that's the. Does that answer the question in any way?
No, keep going until
fucking
you find
waffle away.
something, Colin.
What we're arguing about?
How many minutes are we in? Are we nearly done?
Gordon, you want to chip in?
Well, taking the Ryan Porteous situation as an example, right? There is evidence, but what we haven't got is the truth. So if you unpick it from there, where does that leave us? Because we all know, having seen it with our own eyes, with the evidence presented to us, that he did not commit a red card offence, yet he was still found guilty and failed to pass a subsequent appeal. So it would question whether or not evidence is necessary to prove the truth in that instance. Am I right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Therefore, you can deduce from that evidence isn't necessary to prove the truth. Fucking hell, my head.
I need to listen back to that. I'll need to listen back to that.
Aye.
That's all shite. No.
Sounded
Do you know what
great,
he said?
Colin.
He had a Colin Wilkinson style delivery, so I've bought into it. It was calm, it was measured, it was
John looked
just
like he was having a
beautiful.
stroke when I said that.
Not the kind of stroke you're thinking of.
We hands where we can see them every day.
Be Rebecca Luce.
Just come back to me in 30 minutes.
But
Right,
that was
100
one of them, though. You were never going to overturn that one to go into football because every pundit came out and said that's a red card, it's reckless, whatever,
Aye.
all that stuff. It was never getting, because if they'd overturned that, they would have been ridiculed by all these people
Aye.
that played the game.
To keep it legal as well, right? There's different types of truth, right? You've got the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So, yeah, I think an overwhelming amount of evidence is required to prove the whole truth. But
Aye.
in the case of Porteous, once again, we had it, every single angle, and he was still found guilty. Crazy.
There was one angle where
It's a still shot, though, that angle as well, isn't it?
no, there's like the move for behind the goal. If you see the moving one for behind the goal, it looks totally different challenge for every other angle. So
Aye.
if you only based it on that, that's just like that's the truth, but it's not the whole truth. So
Yeah.
all right, 150k on Hanlon Hill said, "Are beards just face pubes?"
Correct.
They essentially are, aren't they?
Yeah.
A bit wiry, yeah.
I don't know.
Well,
I mean, aye, but well,
they come in at puberty, don't they? Like you've not got a beard before you hit puberty, John. So it has to be like you've got other hair at that point on your head.
I agree. But I'm looking at Colin and Gordon, and they both have very nicely manicured beards. And I wouldn't look at them and go, "That's just a bunch of pubes in their face." Whereas I look at myself in the mirror and I think, "That's just face pubes." Who are you trying to kid?
So it's definitely
To
got
be
more
able-
grace up
to
here.
be able
than
to make
I've done.
that- to be able to make that claim, you have to be aware of what kind of manscaping's done down south, though. Eh? Very
That was
well
that was
manicured
going to be a
beards.
follow up. Have you ever seen a perfectly manicured? I don't even know what you'd call it, like
Johnson.
navel beard.
Monkey's forehead. A well read viz.
It's on the Preparasaurus, it must be. I'll go and check.
Have we had the conversation we did when Hibs got sponsored by Manscaped or the partnership? And I think we chatted about whether or not we did the grooming down below.
Can I just say it was brilliant seeing Dougie Donnelly talking about Manscaped and then to move really seamlessly into scooter boot for all your scooter needs in Edinburgh.
now you're streamlined, you can move a bit quicker on your scooter.
But beards did come popular when folks started shaving their pubes. Didn't
Aye.
they?
Aye.
That's when it kind of was a similar time period. almost like, right, I'll leave that, shave that.
Just switch it around for a bit.
Yeah.
Councillor Tom McEwen said a law is to be introduced about the length of football team shorts. Do you go for long shorts or short shorts? What should it be?
Do we know, guy? Is this guy definitely a councillor, or is he just using this name? I've asked that before. Do we know for definite?
So he is right. Look at it. I'm assuming that we've got permission to do this because he's tweeted us. Profile said PKC councillor, housing and communities spokesperson at McEwen SNP. So
he's an actual sensible person that gets.
He's probably working in my neck of the woods. Perth and Kinross Council, right?
Aye.
Got to be careful here in case there's a planning dispute or
any potholes you need fixed.
Guy, fucking loads. You tell that cunt for me, right? never mind his question about shorts. What about the fucking potholes in Kinross? Tell him Willie Robertson, the Lib Dem's going to come and boot his ring.
Fucking traffic lights have been broken for ages. Short shorts or long shorts, Colin?
Is this for me to wear or to watch? Like
To watch.
What's that? To watch long.
Long. John?
Aye, probably long
And
as well.
beer, by the way.
I'm old enough to remember the late 80s and the excess thigh that was on show.
Good players back then, way.
Yeah, definitely. Much prefer playing in long shorts, but watching the boys. Good to see Mickey Weir's thighs.
Yeah, the shorts that went with that Scotland top you've got on, Gordon, they were short shorts.
Oh, they were short with a gold band.
With the band. Aye.
I'm sure if Gordon stands up, we'll get to see the short shorts as well.
Imagine I just stood up.
Full kit.
It's like
he's got his manscaped. He's definitely manscaped.
Imagine I just had one nut hanging out there. Sorry, Mum. What have you been doing this week?
Did your mum
Work,
listen?
son? Aye, well, that's the worrying thing. She does to everything I do. She'll and then go, "Oh yeah, that was interesting what you said the other night about which configuration you would like to have sex with me and your dad."
My mum and dad listen. That's awkward at times. But it's so weird. And my son listens as well. So, yeah, he mentioned that in the car. He texted me the other day, so we were talking about excuses. If somebody walked in and you try to give yourself head, what would your excuse be? And I think I said, "I'll try to see my bum." And that's all he texted me was, "I'm trying to see my bum."
Oh man, I've got to share this with you today, right? So every year we go away and play golf with the boys, my big brother's mates from school, and they shared a fest hole today, right? So this was the fest hole. Let me read it to you. Hold on. This is a question for you boys, right? While sitting on the throne, I realised I'm in my 40s and had never seen my own anus. So I took a selfie with my iPhone. I don't know why I expected to see a glowing Taylor Swift-esque ring piece, because I saw one of the most repulsive sights imaginable. I couldn't delete it quick enough. That was from Fessel. And then the message on the group WhatsApp was, "I didn't even know that Taylor Swift possessed the ring piece by which all others should be judged. So it could not have been me." Which smart brother is responsible for this confession was the question.
It'd be like, I think I imagine mine's like the Sarlacc bit if I could return to the Jedi. Just fucking teeth and folk for in it.
The almighty Sarlacc with Lando Calrissian hanging from one of your from one of your piles.
Right, Ryan said, if Alex Ray knows the answer, how fucking dim was the question? Very. We move on for that one. Right. Ricky, do you believe in alternative universes, and if so, what do you reckon your other you is like?
I do believe in it, yeah, just by the numbers alone and well, the infinite size of the existence of the universe, right? There has to be 4 lads having this conversation somewhere else,
But with different answers.
Yeah, but I'm just giving the Curvy Nisbet answers. But the alternative version of me is a much better guy.
John?
I don't know. Like, if
Imagine you were a
listened
Jambo.
Oh no! I mean, for what Gordon was saying about the numbers and everything, if you've ever listened to something called, I think it's called The Infinite Monkey Cage. It's Brian Cox of well, you've heard him. He does like the physics stuff. Aye,
Dereem,
Dereem. Aye, he played the keyboard. Ken's a bit about physics as well. So he's talked about like infinite universes and stuff like that. And by definition, there is a universe out there where one of us, well, all of us will be Jambos, and we'll be doing a Hearts-based podcast. And that actually makes my skin crawl.
Not
necessarily.
You
It's
do the
just,
opposite of what you do, like.
I think my understanding of it is all the different possibilities are kind of catered for, and all the different permutations within it.
Yeah.
So can you imagine as I sit with my cardigans on, fucking talking about committees and not telling any jokes, talking about committees.
How much you've paid into a fucking fund.
Aye. All that
There'll
kind of stuff.
be universes out there where we've got wee arms, hands, wee legs, feet, and both all at the same time.
And we're all wanking off pigs.
We've all had that about.
Just having a very, very theological discussion about truth and evidence for an hour and a half.
Trying to see your own bum.
Right, Jay Caldwell said they should be play a B team at Ibrox and protect the squad from refereeing mistakes, suspensions, etc. Nah, go to win. Go to win.
Correct.
Hey, but I think there's
Keep
maybe
into football.
there's method in the madness as well, because you could maybe just send out your B team to just 2-foot everyone,
Aye.
and then it's kind of a win-win.
Aye.
I mean,
Fair.
you didn't get me wrong. Like, you probably get the game abandoned, or you have to forfeit, or whatever. But you injure their star players, and then next time you come up against them, you play the A team, and that's you won the league.
That's brilliant. I like that.
Right. Kaiser Soze, what breaks and never falls, and what falls and never breaks? Gordon?
Your heart. Don't know.
Good
Heart
enough.
breaks.
I was
but
going
they
for
fall.
wind. Wind, you break wind. Wind doesn't fall, does it? What falls never breaks. Water break or waves break, don't they? But Sean,
A car breaks but doesn't fall.
a car.
Break but doesn't fall, does it? Just stops.
That's
Any
true.
idea?
Fall. It depends how bad your driver is, Colin. You just fell into a field, didn't it? So,
Break too late. Aye.
aye. John, you look how hard you were thinking there.
This has got a
Yeah.
genuine answer, this one, eh? I've heard this before. This has got a genuine
Aye,
answer.
it's something. So it is something really simple on what Gordon said.
So it's a daybreak and
Oh, nightfalls.
nightfall.
Ah,
If you need a genuine answer,
Yeah.
thought it was something a bit more interesting than that.
nah.
Can we go into our parallel
Shite
universe where that
question.
question doesn't get answered?
Aye.
We just move on.
Oh well, the next one comes from William Todd. Said, should Michael Gove be allowed to sing Sunshine on Leith at the Tory Party conference, and which song should he sing instead?
Did he sing that? Did he sing Sunshine?
I think he wanted to, but the Tory party whip or advisors, whatever, said no, don't do it, because someone had done it previously and they were slaughtered for it. But had he got up and sang, he'd planned on singing Sunshine. on
Sunshine
Leith.
on Leith. And that was at this party conference, right?
I think so. Aye.
Aye. Wow.
Surely the
Imagine.
Proclaimers wouldn't be having that. Can they
No,
no veto
definitely.
these things?
I don't think you can with karaoke, can you? I think.
Fucking hell. Have you ever tried to sing Sunshine? Like, probably no, in the crowd.
Yeah. The
not
violin
e-
bit's awkward, eh?
It's not an easy song to sing.
Na, 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 na.
So everybody just goes,
Yeah, so I think how it sounds good in a big crowd when everybody's singing it. Folk get away with it, but if you tune out to the overall noise and listen to the folk who are standing around about you, it's fucking painful.
It's awful, isn't it? My big brother used to have remember he used to get headphone splitters for the old Walkmans?
Yeah.
Did you ever have one of them?
Yeah.
And his pal Stewie Watson used to come around and they'd play, I remember it, Road Rash on the Mega Drive on the Sega. And he would unplug Stewie and listen to him singing. Because he was so bad at singing. Just to entertain himself laughing at that. But it's the same, innit? You can just when you listen back to clips of Sunshine on Leith, you record on your phone and there's somebody beside you singing in an octave that hasn't been invented yet.
It's usually me. It's obviously a class song. But,
It's quite hard to sing, though. If you start at the wrong place, you're fucked.
what song would you sing then, Colin, if you're picking a song for Michael Gove to sing at the Tory Party conference?
So I was in the car earlier and I was had the radio on, and there's this Elton John song out there now. Have you heard that? Elton John's released a song, but it's basically a rip-off of a song he had out years ago, like Sacrifice. But they've changed the words. They've taken the sacrifice bit out and it's called Cold Heart. So let's go with that.
All right. Is that Elton John? I heard that
He's
song.
got a lassie
and
singing some like rap or something over it, and it's just a
I know the one you mean.
recording of him going, "Cold Heart," and
I thought somebody just sampled it and
fucking
put it out.
shit.
rather than him
No, it's
having
titled
anything to
as
do with
him,
it.
or it came up.
Aye.
It came up on the kind on the thing on the radio saying Elton John with. It's called that. It's fucking terrible.
What was like he
it's really
was?
bad.
He sang for like in his garden or something.
Oh,
And
that was during lockdown when
I'm
his
still
mouth wasn't
standing.
working.
Aye. I've never seen somebody singing while they've been having a stroke before, but I'm pretty sure that's what I fucking witnessed at that moment in time.
There's been something wrong with him, like over the years, because it's been like Frank Skinner takes a piss out of him as well on his podcast or his radio show that he does on a Saturday morning, because the way he does the speaking thing now. I don't know if he's had an operation on his tongue or something, because he's fucked.
He drinks
I
cider
feel bad
vinegar,
if there's
doesn't
something happened to him. I feel bad. I'll take that back then. I shouldn't.
he? Yeah, he also took industrial amounts of cocaine for about 20 years of his life, didn't he? So it's not going to help his pipes, that is it?
It's catching up with
him. I think he should sing "Gay Bar" by Electric Six. Remember that tune?
Yep.
With the red, remember the flashy pants that he had?
Yep. What was that?
I mean, is that an exclusive? Like, is that an exclusive though?
Aye.
Right. Aye. So he is right.
Flashy pants.
John.
I'm going to go for "Burning Down the House" by Tom Jones and the Cardigans.
Good.
Aye, fair dues. I think you should sing something by the Fugees, just for the irony. Right.
Get Pretty Patel doing that as an encore.
Neil Renton said, well, all right, Gordon, I think these are mostly directed to you. Number one, what does he think of Hibs fans wearing maroon polo tops when they play golf?
He's really got a problem with this, Rents. Like, I wore, I've got a maroon polo shirt. I've got a couple of maroon t-shirts. But I know,
More than one.
I've got a few, because I remember, I think it was, who was it? It was Stone Roses said that when they played Etihad, remember? Like big Man United fans playing City's ground. And I remember saying, how could you do that? And they were like, because it doesn't fucking matter. And from that day on, I was quite comfortable wearing maroon. I don't know, honestly, that was it. But I love my wee, it's not maroon. I wouldn't say it's maroon.
Burgundy.
Burgundy, there we go. All right. I tell him I'll never wear it again, all right.
All right. And what's the best /Gordon story you've heard?
Oh, my favourite one's Ronnie Vannucci, the drummer in the Killers, right? So if you don't know the story behind /Gordon, it was all inspired by finding myself standing next to Sean Connery at a toilet. And it was my dream to meet him. And I've never spoken to him after that. And I hadn't spoken to him before. And about halfway through a piss, I just looked at him and said, look, from one Edinburgh punter to another, can I just say it's a real honour to meet you? And he just looked at me and said, no, it's not really the time, is it, son? And I was just like, that'll do, mate. And I had a look at his willy as well, and it was massive. So I was really delighted.
You just surrounded. Do you just only meet guys who've got big
willies? So I was delighted with that. And then from that point on, I always wondered who the most famous person Sean Connery's had a piss beside, but I never got the chance to ask him. So I've been asking everybody I've ever interviewed that question. And some of the answers are outstanding. But my favourite one's Ronnie Vannucci from the Killers. And he was doing an NBA gala dinner, and he's a massive basketball fan. And the Killers were playing 4 songs at the end of the dinner. Michael Jordan was there. All of his heroes, current heroes, including Kobe Bryant and all of that mob were there. And he said that in the dressing room, there were 2 urinals really close together. And he went in super nervous, and he starts having a pee. And he said he's just opened the floodgates, and he could feel the shadow just like appear over him, and the temperature of the room changes, and he looks around, and it's Shaquille O'Neal unbuttoning himself. And he said he unraveled this massive cable beside him, and he said Shaquille O'Neal's just laughing, knowing that, because he got stage fright, so the piss immediately stopped as this happened, and he's just like trying to squeeze it out, like blood pressure going, shaking like a shitting dog, trying to make his piss come out. And he said he could see Shaquille O'Neal's shoulders going with laughter because he had stage fright. And he said he just looked across, and just out of nowhere, Ronnie Vannucci's just said to him, "Nice watch." I just thought that was fucking brilliant. That was one of the best ones.
And last one for Neil for you, Gordon, was what tips have you got for maintaining mental health in these crazy, insane times?
What you need to do is go on a podcast called Shortbangers and talk about the configuration of having a threesome with your mum and dad. And also, to be in regular contact with Neil Renton, who, I don't know if you follow him, lads, but he's one of the I love him. I think when I was on the radio, he used to send me wee messages and we'd have a wee chat backwards and forwards. I think he's a funny man. He's a class act. And when I was feeling a wee bit miserable when I lost my voice, he was there for me. And looking out for your pals and talking pish and following Fesshole as well.
He was a good lad. He's coming on Friday night to a live show,
Brilliant.
which I think will be the first time I'll meet him in person.
Great guy. Knows his music, knows Hibs. Great bloke.
He's a top man. We're in a few of our WhatsApp groups, so he's really top man. We actually had him on the podcast one of our early episodes about mental health.
Aye.
And he was brilliant. It's one of the best episodes we did, wasn't it?
Yeah, really good, really insightful.
All right, Mixu99 says, if Alex Ray got his own column in The Sun, would he be able to submit his wonderful insights in crayon?
Yes. It would have been better than Andy Goram's fucking column, I'll tell you that. Andy Gorham, I'm not breaking any trust here. He, when I was editor of the paper, he once filed a report when Rangers were 2-0 down. I think they were probably still in the Championship at the time. And went to his bed. And obviously, I think Rangers then went on to win 3-2. But the report he had filed was yet another nail in the coffin of this once great institution. It's time for a change at Ibrox. This isn't good enough. The manager needs to think about his lineup and it's time for him to take drastic action. And when I phoned him the next day about it, he was like, I know, incredible, and terrible, 2-0. I mean, that's unacceptable against them. It's like, Andy, Rangers won 4-2 or whatever it was. He wasn't long for the world after that.
Right, Mike said, is it wrong that I haven't tried a Galatasaray? Also, would John petition for an Allen's Bakery to open in Livy or perhaps start a courier service for the Galatasaray?
Can I ask, after the mention of the Galatasaray on Hibs TV, Mr. Fairney, have you been given some kind of like black card by them now?
Nah, although Alan's coming on Friday as well, isn't he? Like the man behind
Definitely
the Galatasaray.
getting something out of this, like, because it's been. How many, John? You had the numbers he was selling.
So when he started them, he did an initial run of 20 because he wasn't sure that they were going to sell, and he didn't want to have half a dozen for his tea on the Monday. And they sold out before 12 o'clock, and he did them afterwards, and he sold 700 in 2 weeks. So the boy, they're really, really, really popular. So that's the power of Longbangers.
If you want to send adverts in, we'll do it.
I honestly love it.
We are fucking shameless as well. Like, we
Terry
don't care
Healy
what
just
we're
stays over the road to me, so we'll get him involved.
I would love it if Allen's Bakery was to start doing a black card for like regular visitors. I think that would tickle me so many ways.
All right, Ladij says, recently in Afghanistan, the US Army swapped some Chewy Backery for a car with a fuck-off gun on the back. What's the best swap you've ever managed?
Swapped a what?
Some Chewy Backery for a car with a fuck-off gun on the back.
Sure it wasn't Chewbacca?
For a tank.
He's sitting in some Afghan dungeon at the moment, wondering why his life's gone wrong.
Han Solo blind in the corner.
John, any good swaps?
No, I've said this before. I'm really, really tight. I don't tend to give up anything. So like, nah.
Well, I've got one that would suit you then. Have you ever tried giving up Sky TV for a Fire Stick?
See, I looked at the Fire Stick that you suggested, and I saw that it was 50 quid for the Fire Stick. I've got absolutely no idea what it does to begin with, and then there's like another 50 quid for something that might break after it. That just seems like a really dodgy investment to me.
Well, I can't comment on
and as you boys know,
I don't think it is. I've heard.
I've watched
for folk I know who have tried one, John, they work pretty well.
One episode of TV all this week, so it's just no cost effective for me. So
you get Bake Off on it, probably, I would imagine.
Is that euphemism coming back again? There's loads of Bake Off on it.
Intense Bake Off, all available on the Fire Stick.
No,
but serious question though, can you get porn on the Fire Stick?
Oh, aye. I believe so. I've told you. They advertise it with it.
My brother-in-law tells there's an adult
Aye.
section. You've got to ask for it to get switched off sometimes if you want. You can get it switched off, I believe.
Imagine being that person asking for it to be switched off.
So
just like blowing the cobwebs off the phone that comes through on. Hello? No one ever phoned you.
The wank phone's gone. Lad. You answer the wank phone.
Rebecca? There's the Alan Partridge story. There's at the hotel. He's like, he gets caught watching. He's like, just turn it off, and then he has to go back at the end of the episode. Can you put it back on? I'm sure. I don't care if I should admit this. Right? When we moved over to Dunfermline, so we moved over. I had one child at that point, so my son, and James was desperate for a second one. And at that point, I was like, one will do. To be fair, but Sky HD had just come out, so I was like, I probably could. If we do that, I'll get Sky HD. And she's like, aye, that's all right. So I think if that counts as a swap or a bargain. But,
some steaming for Sky HD.
Aye. Sky HD ended up costing a lot more than it fucking should have. That's the lesson I learned for that one.
Fuck's sake.
But
Didn't anyone tell Matty that Sky Glass is coming out? He might end up with a fourth pair.
no, that'll not happen now.
So
Steps have been taken.
Oh, that's right. You're on Spunk Zero now, eh?
Oh man, I had a Hibs related incident when I had my visit to the same place, and I was absolutely crapping myself, right, for obvious reasons, and I just got called to go in for the final moments to get sorted out with the two bricks, and I put my hand on the handle to go in the room, and Alan Combe, the goalie coach at Hibs, put his hand on my shoulder. He was, all right, Gordon, what are you doing? What are you in for? I was like, he went, I know what you're in for, son. Oh, yeah. Big, massive goalie hand on my shoulder. Shriveled plums.
Was it him that was doing the procedure?
With his gloves on.
I think if he was,
Felt like
he
it,
was, he must
sake.
have been in for the same thing, no?
Not well, he was awfully happy unless he'd had different medication than me, right enough.
I was all right straight after it. I was like, it was like the next day in that, because you've got they must put that much anaesthetic in.
Did you milk it a bit? No, obviously part of the pun, but
Aye, it was later because you've got
Semi-skim. It's like a fucking Karcher power hose, isn't it? You fucking sandblast the Balmoral afterwards. The pipes were that short.
aye, did you take advantage, Gordon? Did you lay it on thick about how injured you were, or you, Gordon? Like, because obviously, John, you've not done this yet, so
No.
I went down the wrong track with it because I said the doctor says this is worse than childbirth. So that immediately put me on the back foot, because obviously you can't say things like that to
aye.
somebody that's been through it 3 times.
There's a great big Leishman's got a story about that as well. It was class. So he'd mixed up the dates. So he told his wife he was in for the procedure, but actually it was just the initial check to get them weighed up and tuned in. And she dropped him off and says, "What time do I come back for you?" He went, "I'll get your phone in, I'll get your phone." So he'd gone in and just obviously had his plums looked at and given the details about having a shave and all that kind of stuff. Anyways, he's decided to go for a few drinks and then gone back to the hospital and then phoned her like 4 hours later and said, "Oh, can you come and get me? Oh, it's terrible." So she's come back, picked him up, took him home, helped him up to the bedroom. He's on tea and toast in bed, getting his dinner in bed, stayed overnight the next day, breakfast in bed. And he's like, "I'm going to take the day off work, Ken, this is brutal." And she's like, okay. And they kept it going for about 2 days till he eventually said it was just the initial appointment.
So I had you the leaflet to make sure you want to go ahead.
Got to admire him. The big fud.
All right, what the Hibs are here said, whatever happened to 10p crisps?
Still get them.
Can't get that many now, though.
They're tiny. There's only like 4 or 5. What are they called again? Space Raiders in the back.
Space Raiders.
Is it Tom Toms or something you got?
Tangy Toms.
Tangy
Tangy
Toms.
Toms.
Aye, they were a staple at primary school.
John Callahan, why don't you see white dog shit anymore? There is a reason for that. Isn't it just like something that they changed in dog food?
I think you just need to know where to look for it.
By the way, I've seen more and more of it recently. Not that the ground's like littered with white dog shit, but I've definitely seen more.
I saw one tonight and on my way back to the flat in London. I wouldn't say it was white. I'd say it's more of a beige, but it wasn't brown. Didn't qualify. But it was on the white. It was definitely like an eggshell.
I saw a tooth.
What were you sat there like comparing it to the
shite the other
Dulux?
day.
Like?
No, it's like that. It's,
Well, that'd go nice in my bedroom.
embarrassed cloud.
So you take it to B&Q. Can I get that colour?
Just hold it like that.
Espresso said, "Lord or link sausage on your roll in the morning."
Who calls it lawn sausage? Is that not a Ouija thing?
Square sausage.
Square sausage.
It's nice sausage, you know.
Slice. Yeah.
Sliced.
That's normally the test, isn't it? What you call it tells you how posh you are. It's like if I said, right, here's a wee test for you. If I said to you, Colin, you've got really dirty fingers, show us. How did you do that? How did you do that? Show us your hand when you checked it. There you go. See, that's a sign of a very effeminate gentleman who checks like that.
Is it?
A real man checks like that.
I think I done that the first time on the way up, and the second time.
Oh, yeah, that's what when nobody was looking.
You went straight into the.
Just checking the finish there, Colin.
Gets his fan out. I'm not a big fan of sliced sausage. It's all right. I always think there's a real danger of overdoing it, and then just gets that sort of chewy way. I prefer leg sausage if it's on a roll.
Bacon, I would pick.
Bacon's better than a sausage roll, yeah.
But do you call it a rolling sausage, or a like? Can folks say that? I'll have a rolling sausage. No, it's a sausage on a roll. Like a rolling sausage is. It's not right. It doesn't. It's a Ouija. It's a Ouija.
It seems like two separate things. Like
a roll or a sausage.
It says sausage in one hand, the roll in the other. Like you can put it together yourself.
Rolling sausage would be like a tank. You can move it along or a tractor for moving it.
What I like about square sausage is it seems to be efficient in your roll. Do you know? It's like no
wasted space.
Yeah, that's a good shout.
But if I'm making it myself, definitely link sausages because you can slice them down the middle and really fill the full acreage of bread.
Yeah. Vince Robinson, Gordon, what was your most legendary bender, and who was it harder to explain it to, the missus or Big Jim?
You never have to explain it to Jim because he's always done it worse than you. It was funny when you were talking. There's something that earlier on made me think about. He came down to see my son when he was about 4 weeks old, and he saw him for all of about 40 seconds before he had to go and get the train. And it was I think it was Scotland, England down here, must have been. Anyway, I got a phone call from Kate, my wife, at about midday saying, "Who the fuck is Destiny from Spearmint Rhino?" And I was like, immediately thought, oh, for fuck's sake, Jim. And he met a lap dancer and left her card on my dining room table. And then I found myself going, oh yeah, she wanted to talk to me about a story for the paper. I found myself taking one for Jim. Like, what am I fucking doing? My wife's recently given birth to a child and is really vulnerable, and I'm covering up his tracks. Like, fuck's sake. But one of the biggest ones was about. I've just sounded like I'm trying to do the right thing by my wife. But about 4 weeks before that, I went out in Paris. It was the launch of the Scotland away kit, the England away kit, and the France away kit, and the Ireland away kit, and we did it with Kasabian at the Bataclan in Paris. So they came on stage, Serge in an Italy strip, Tom in an Ireland strip. I had a Scotland strip on, and they did a picture of like hand revealing their away kits. And then I promised my wife that I'd get home to see my son being born. And Jimmy was due like 48 hours later. So there was time to get the Eurostar back. And we thought that he'd be a week late because it was our first kid, something like that. So anyway, I woke up and the first message on my phone said, "You're now entered in Belgium." And I thought, fuck, that's not good. The next message said, "You're now entered in the Netherlands." I was like, oh, that's fucking terrible news. And then the next message said, "Where the fuck are you? I think my waters are breaking." And I'd got on the tour bus with him afterwards and decided to go to Amsterdam weekend. So I was just like, and I fell out. I was on the tour bus. I just like fell out of my phone and was like, fucking hell. And Tom, the singer, was standing in his pants and just said, "That got really out of hand, eh?" Fuck. So they dropped me at Schiphol Airport, and I got a KLM flight to Edinburgh, and it cost like 920 quid. And I was standing there going, "Ooh, is there anything a wee bit cheaper?" And then had a moment of like, no, you better get this fucking flight. And I remember I had to run through the airport because it was leaving in 45 minutes. And the boy for KLM was amazing. I was like, I'm going to miss the birth of my son, as if it was like some unexpected thing and nothing to do with me being a total fanny. And flew back, got a taxi home, and then I got to the airport, got to the hospital with my wife, and wee Jimmy was born not long after. And then just to make myself sound like even more of a prick, you're not allowed in for 24 hours pretty much, are you, for visiting time? So I went back to London and went to the Brits, stayed out all night, and then came back reeking for visiting hours. But it was a different time. That was probably the one I got in the most trouble for.
That's
I
decent.
suppose
What were
it's
you?
important when you were doing that though. When you were doing that job, that must have been important to actually be out and
Aye.
get the
Well,
stories in that, was it?
And also, like, I found that when I stopped doing it, it was really hard to get stuff to put in the paper. But
Yeah.
if you did stuff like that, I always thought it came across well in the paper because it shows that you're getting in amongst it. You know, you weren't just like sitting with a Twix at your desk going, Madonna's fucking looking old. And I thought, nah, fuck it. I'm going to go and ride it till the wheels come off and, you know, go and make mischief. Because when that happened, and it also gives you stories to tell and things to talk about. And I think like the folk in bands or like actors and all the rest of it, I think they saw that you weren't just there to like spy on folk. You were actually putting your marriage at risk for the sake of having a carry on. So
This is how much it means to me.
this means everything to me. Just steaming in the corner like, I'll fucking tell you another thing, lads. Your music, right? But that's kind of how it went for about 10 years. And then I was told to go home and grow up and go and edit the Scottish Sun.
Oh well, John, what were you biggest bender you've been on?
Probably after Hibs won the CIS Cup, Scottish Cup, obviously, and probably when I had my stag do in Berlin. They're like the three highlights for me. Just never really stopped. Woke up at Edinburgh Airport after the CIS Cup win. Got woken up by a boy on the bus driver for Lothian buses. I had no idea how I got there. Collapsed unconscious at the feet of Irvin Welsh in the hotel in London Road after the Scottish Cup, and woke up in bed the following morning with Tamdene Burn off River City, and I thought he was dead because the boy never moved, and all the time that I got up out of bed, went downstairs to try and find the boy that owned the hotel, came back up, spewed in the sink, and got back out of bed. Boy never moved a muscle.
Weird.
Was he dead?
No, he was very much alive, just very, very tired.
Do you imagine how shy you'd have to be or awkward? Like you just go, oh fuck, I'm just going to play dead till this hunt goes away. So that's probably the approach I would have taken.
That's what he was trying. He's like, fucking
I just can't go fuck off.
I think who he is. He's been stuck in my sink. I'll hunt my breath.
No, but that's the thing. Like I wasn't in his room. Both of us had been like put into the body, the Johnny's closet or something. There just happened to be a bed and like the tiny wee corner sink there that I spewed into. Both of us had been mad with it the night before, and we had to be put to our bed rather than go to our bed.
What are you calling?
Just the boring sort of Magaluf stag do 7 days. That was what I'd done back in 2001. So 7 days, just like one of them when I think the Champions League final was on the Wednesday night. And we went out for something to eat and I'm like, watch the Champions League final. I went, no, I'm just going back to my fucking bed. Come and get me when we're going out, like fucking midnight or whatever. And then we got back and we were in the cup final on the Saturday. We got back on the Friday night late to Glasgow. We were at Celtic, behind the Celtic Cup final, 2001. So I was back through Penny Black at 7 o'clock or whatever it was in the morning. Like last thing I needed. I don't know if I had won, it would have been different, but no winning. You're just like sitting in the train coming back. I'm just going back to my fucking bed. I think that's me. That'll be me to Tuesday or something.
All right, Fattest Pricker said, right, we're in our last couple of questions. Fattest Pricker says, when it's not raining, do cars use their window wipers to wave at each other?
It's funny, but I've sometimes wondered whether you could use like your rear windscreen wiper to sort of say cheerio to someone if they've let you out, and maybe because like when you're past them,
rather than the hazard lights.
Aye, but well, that's the thing on my car. The hazard lights, the wee button's a bit fiddly, and sometimes you're sort of like jabbing away at it trying to get it to work, and by which point, like the boy thinks you're a cunt.
Just to indicate, like just quick.
Like that. Are you one of these ones, John, you press, you go to check the hazard lights are working, you're like, they're working? No, they're not. Hi there, no, they're not. Hi there, no, they're not.
Aye.
It's not the button. I always thought it would be good if you could have, I think they trialled it for, they made them for a while, but we sort of LED displays that put messages along like your back window. That would be, you'd have to have them kind of pre-programmed because obviously you wouldn't have to be able to type them out as you were going, but you'd have some nice ones for when folk have let you out and you could say thanks very much. But then you'd also have the ones that were like, what was it, Craig's insults were like, I hope you fucking die soon. I hope it's a bad winter.
So what about that technology though, right? So that sounds like it was a wee bit outdated. I think the old taxis used to maybe have it in the back of their cars or whatever. But could you apply that to speech recognition now so that you could do it all hands-free and just like shout obscenities at folk through the power of LEDs?
John, you've seen
Imagine
you've seen how my
it's brilliant.
messages end up with my fucking iPhone when it changes words left, right, and centre. They would just be incoherent fucking nonsense. I would say something that I would think was fucking dynamite, and the person would read it and they would go, "Oh, I see where this is going." And then the last one would be a fucking Brussels sprout or something like that.
It says a lot about your pals, doesn't it? How the predictive text works, right? So when Jermaine Defoe signed for Rangers, my pal in London texted me and went, "I can't believe Ketamine Defoe's signed for Rangers."
The famous one was kebab calling, wasn't it? Like just fucking, I think I said one word, and that one word that I said was wrong.
I can't even remember what you were trying to say. But it was kebab.
Kebab. Jamie Montgomery said, have any of you been chatted up by a famous female celebrity and had to decline for personal reasons?
I imagine this is more a question
All the time.
for Gordon than us for us. Like, I don't think I've met a female celebrity, so.
I met Supergram once, but she did not try anything. I think I was too young for it at the time.
Yeah, that's the first Gunnar Campbell. No, this is definitely for a conversation another day, lads.
I once inadvertently had a piss in front of Kinnicky. You know, there's a band in the 90s called Kinnicky. There's Lauren Laverne went on to the radio at Tina Park. I found the toilet was mobbed and we were miles away from it, so I just tried to find like a quiet fence to pee against. And as I was standing peeing, they came out of like a fucking trailer or something. And I was like, "Oh, hello." And I kind of quickly finished and went away. I doubt they'll remember the incident.
I've thought about a clever way to answer this question, and it's I can tell you the famous people that have tried it on with my wife. How about that? So Beppe DeMarco from EastEnders, he pestered her for a while when I think he'd been doing like a guest appearance at Jack Hale's nightclub in Dunfermline, and he'd set eyes on young Mrs. Leishman and wouldn't leave her alone, and then kind of like drove through town with his window rolled down asking her to come back to his hotel. She tells me she didn't go back, but she probably got pumped ragged, didn't she? And then John Leslie as well. So John, we were away on it was the Mary Leishman Foundation golf day in Spain, and Kate was at the bar, and Big Bold John said he's putting a girl band together, and he wondered if Kate would like to audition for it. And at which point she said, "You've met my husband, Gordon, from The Sun."
Nice watch.
Nice watch.
I'm away.
And the last one would be John Terry as well. John Terry, back in 2003, we were in a nightclub, and Kate, she was at performing arts school. That sounds wrong in the context of this conversation, but she was at musical theatre school in London in a place called Epsom. And John Terry was at the bar, and he had a pyramid formation of vodka and glasses stacked up. In a really classy way, he was pouring Red Bull into his. It's meant to be done with champagne, right? And anyway, he said to Kate while I was there, he just went, "But he doesn't earn 80 grand a week, does he? Want a drink, love?" It's like, "Hello, Gordon Smart. I'm a showbiz editor of The Sun." Same effect. Serious. But I thought that was a bit.
What a dick.
Aye.
It's funny, that's sort of character for those three as well.
My wee sister, she had the guitar player for the Blue Tones tried it on with her, and my cousin got off with Rick Witter off of Shed 7 one time. That's the closest I've got to celebrity stories.
It wasn't rhyming slang she was using, was it?
No.
But a different incident entirely.
Right, last question for the night. Okay, Colin's just disappeared. He's gone. Mark McKenzie said, if you could be covered in glue and kicked through a shop of your choice, what would it be?
Good question.
It'd have to be a jeweller's, wouldn't it? Because that's the most value for glue per square inch on your body. So Rocks on George Street.
I'm going for the middle while at Aldi, because fuck knows what you get. Like, you're coming out with like all sorts of fucking crazy shit there. That's my answer.
don't know if they've got a physical store, but the one that Jack Ross shops in, I want to come out looking like Jack Ross.
Zipped up.
Aye.
Colin, I think if you're there for me, I ask you.
My Wi-Fi's been pissing about for the last.
Right.
It's been cut off. So I heard the jewellery shop, and that makes sense to me. I don't know what.
Actually, I'm going to change my mind and go for the Galatassa pie. I don't want to get
kicked through the bakers.
just Rome and Galatassa pie. Just to keep the theme going.
Right, that's us for the night. Gordon, thanks very much for joining us. We are, when are we back? So they'll Hibs Longbangers on Monday because it's international football. So actually, the next time that we will be together will be for Shortbangers Live next Friday night at Easter Road. There are, I think, 10 tickets left. So if you want to come along, you better let us know soon. Gordon, if you're in there, you're more than welcome.
Was there 15 for sale?
10. We were expecting 10 folk. Aye. we've got something to give away, you know, like, and this sounds ridiculous. We've not been able to give them away. A few folk bought them for
charity.
People who might not be able to come. So again, we'll reiterate that you just get in touch with us through DM on Twitter if you like a ticket and you couldn't necessarily buy it yourself. There's a ticket there for you. We'll not let on. Nobody can. So just come and enjoy the night. Until then, thanks very much. Keep your questions coming in. Gordon, it's been great having you on.
Thanks, boys. Appreciate it.
And we'll catch you next time.
Well, they trailed me down when I broke free. I drank all the whiskey in Tennessee. I don't drink water, no